A very warm welcome to all our viewers here at NDTV Profit. This is VoiceWalk presents The Great Business Story, transforming India in association with NDTV Profit. Today we are going to talk about a very interesting concept as always. Now in India, electric vehicles somewhere have been, vouched to transform urban mobility. But there are some challenges that consumers face, especially when it comes to charging. Now here's a company called D-Charge based out of Bengaluru that plans to change all of that. It plans to bring charging stations to every nook and corner of not just the city but even rural India. Joining me today is Mohan Kuldeep. He is the founder and CEO of D-Charge. Thank you so much, Mohan, for joining us today. And before I ask you about anything else, this is a concept that is not just for you, it's also for the people who are watching this show. Tell us why.
So D-Charge was born out of a very powerful realization, right? The realization where the world was rushing into building electric vehicles, but ignoring the most important bottleneck, which is the charging infrastructure itself. And that's how D-Charge was born. We wanted to solve the critical gaps in the infrastructure itself without having to make it capital intensive, because generally the biggest point is that when a company sets out to do this, it is a capital intensive affair and the limitation is either capital or growth. So we set out to solve that by bringing it. We are a team of people who reimagined how energy can be consumed. Problem we're really solving and how we see it is, can energy be intelligent? And in a way where, can this solve the problem for not just today, we are solving it for tomorrow, where we are building it for autonomous vehicles, drones, robots and flying taxis.
Tell us about this concept. How does it work on the ground? Because while I was just introducing this company to our viewers, I did say that you don't have to anymore worry about where you're going to charge. So how does D-Charge change that?
The traditional approach is for a company to go and start looking for locations, have a capex to install the chargers and then grow, which is a slow process. D-Charge kind of solves that problem by bringing the community into the picture, by allowing anybody with a space, anyone in the country, anywhere in the world, if you have access to a charging station, if you have access to a parking space, it could be a parking for a car or a bike, whatever. You just get one of our chargers, we help you install it end to end, and then pretty much within an hour you're ready to start serving customers. And anyone in the vicinity who can use our app can find you, they'll come and start charging, and then you get paid a big chunk of the revenue from that.
So this can be done if you have a residential home or an office space or any commercial space. So
yes.
What's the advantage for me here? What do I get?
Firstly, it's a revenue. It's a recurring revenue stream. You know how usually people make investments in properties because they get rental incomes. If you're an owner of a residence, you have parking space. There are all of these fleets like hyperlocal delivery fleets, all these car fleets, last mile delivery fleets. All of them require access to charging infra. Yeah. And if you're able to provide a parking space and access to a charger, they will come and start using infrastructure and you'll pretty much start making money from that. And for commercial entities, it's much better because apart from the revenue itself, you get a very big advantage where we have seen from our current deployments that the average charging session takes anywhere between 30 to 40 minutes. So if let's say you're a restaurant and you've installed a charging station, we have seen that most of the time while waiting, the user goes into the restaurant and spends 40 minutes there. So we have seen a very high uptake increase in business itself. So it works both ways.
So what's the percentage if a person is giving out his commercial space to charge EV vehicles of people who come in? Does D-Charge pay them, and how do they really pay their electricity bills? Because for commercial spaces, your electricity cost will be much different than residential spaces. How do you really balance this out?
The process is simple. You buy a device from us, we help you install it at your location, right? Now you manage that device. The electricity bill comes to you. When I say you, the host. The host pays the electricity bill. At the time of onboarding of the host, the pricing is determined based on their electricity bill. So let's say their electricity bill is 5 rupees per kilowatt or 10 rupees per kilowatt. There's a markup on top of that which the users are willing to pay for convenience. So we charge a higher rate based on your location, based on the bill that you pay to the electricity. We add a markup. Now at the end of the week, the number of units of electricity consumed are all clocked because the machine and the meter calculates and it records how much is consumed. At the end of the week, the number of units consumed is calculated and you get paid a certain amount. Let's say that you're paying 10 rupees to the government, you get paid, let's say 12 rupees or 13 rupees. You pay the government and the rest is revenue shared. 70% goes to the host and 30% stays with Recharge.
Is this a very urban concept, or are you taking it to rural India as well? Are you taking it to tier 2, tier 3 cities as well?
This is a global concept. The most opportunity will lie in tier 2 and tier 3. Most of the countries in the world are trying to strengthen their last mile delivery networks in tier 2 and tier 3 because urban last mile is already very strong. I would say tier 2, tier 3 have a much better ROI aspect than urban right now.
But they do have their own share of concerns. Many of them think that, especially in semi-urban areas, finding charging stations is very difficult.
Yeah.
You know, some of their homes have power cuts frequently, so they even think of whether having an EV is the best option. So, have you looked at these challenges primarily when it comes to rural areas and, you know, installing or bringing in the charging stations there?
What we are noticing is that most of the tier 2, tier 3 are moving towards renewables, so they are doing a lot on solar power, wind power to power themselves. Let's say there is a challenge of power cuts and then powering vehicles. Users will start moving towards using solar for charging batteries, which can then charge cars or directly charging cars from solars. And we are working towards that. So forward integration is to provide accessible charging infrastructure, but in areas where there is challenge for access to power itself, we provide the backward integration where we have these distributed energy resources that use solar or wind to power batteries, which will then power cars. So this ecosystem will flourish.
Sometimes, you know, power cuts that are very often plaguing rural areas. I think the government's role as well comes in there, isn't it? And how much will that really help companies like you?
Governments are very positive in this change. So they are very pro towards this. That's all we need. Like the ecosystem participants, whether charging infrastructure providers or EV buyers, need to understand that the government is pro for this. Now once they are pro for it, they will go to great lengths to support the entire ecosystem. We've seen that multiple times in the past. Governments at one point cannot say that I'm going to allocate like, X billion dollars to do it. But that's where Decharge is the bridge. We have carefully thought through this entire model, and why we believe this is going to be the future is because we provide that bridge. We allow participants and community to bring their capex. We have enough people in the country to cover, and that accelerates not only government mandate, it accelerates the entire mobility ecosystem as we know it. So that is where we play a very big role.
What's your vision really for the next, say, 5 years?
Right now, if you take an example of a car, more than 80% of the time your car is idle. A majority of the users, their car is idle. So you're driving to work, you're parking the car. You're coming back home, you're parking the car. So about 80% of the time, it's just sitting there. So the future is going to be that these are going to become revenue generating assets. Your car will become autonomous. When your car becomes autonomous, it's going to start revenue generating for you. So it will drop you in your office, it will go start dropping people, making money for you, and come back when you summon it. Now let's say that you're at home and it's near the airport and it's out of battery. What happens?
Yeah.
It requires access to charging. Now if you have to go there and charge it, the purpose is defeated. So the future is going to be autonomous, especially electric, and ubiquitous in electric, which means that the charging infrastructure also has to be automated. Human intervention has to be eliminated. And now what we are working on, the vision is to make it the energy internet. We're talking about autonomous charging infrastructure where the machine economy flourishes, where a car can travel by itself and charge itself without having humans there. And everybody who's just setting up a charger at home or at their location is making revenues just by hosting a space.
You're basically wanting to make my car an appreciating asset eventually. But of course, there are people who are watching this show and people who don't own a car. They own probably, a bike. Some of them have a tempo traveler. Some of them just depend on public transport. So how do you really come into these sectors?
The opportunity is so large that if you look at logistics and fleets companies, you're looking at two-wheelers, right? Delivery guys, all of them moving to electric. Now, most of the fleets and all the companies you're talking to have a mandate to move to electric, completely to electric in the next 5 years. Logistics companies save 11% on their costs just by saving to electric. So It's not just private cars, it's fleets, like it could be tempos, it could be autos, it could be two-wheelers, it could be buses for public transport, it could be trucks, all of this.
But when it comes to larger vehicles, like you were saying, trucks or buses, how do you really look at average charging points? Because you can't have a truck possibly parked there for an hour or two. Are you going to look at, enhancing the speed of charging? Is that kind of tech something that you're working on as well?
Yes, the same approach, but for trucks, we are trying to reduce the time of charging. We'll have maybe a megawatt charger that can power a truck in 15, 16, 20 minutes. But now, with the technology moving so fast, it's not far before before it becomes mainstream, and the time to fully charge is going to get reduced by miles. And it's not just cars or buses and tempos. The future is even more exciting because if you look at a global perspective, NVIDIA, Jensen Huang was talking about having 100 million robots in the next 10 years, like doing human tasks, factories. All of these require access to charging infrastructure.
Then you have drones as well.
You have drones, exactly. You have drones, you have flying taxis, you have robots. So you have all of these which are all going to be electric, and you can't centralize the charging because of the load on the grid. So this approach is the only way, like decharge bridge approach is the only way to kind of create a sustainable charging infra.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, and it was a great chat. Thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you so much. Thanks, man.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Voice What presents the great business story transforming India in association with NDTV Profit. In today's episode, we dive into the dynamic world of online digital loans and lending products, where RBI licensed NBFCs are revolutionizing access to credit with seamless tech-driven solutions for millions of Indians. And I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by Mr. Cheolwon Lee, the CEO of Balance Hero, the innovative force behind True Balance. Welcome to NDTV. The first thing that I want to ask you is, it's been what, 8.5 years since Balance Hero India's inception. Take us through the journey of Balance Hero India, and how has it evolved into this leading financial services platform in this country now?
We actually founded this company in 2014 actually, so it's more than a decade journey. India actually we have founded Balance Hero India in 2016. So for last one decade, biggest problem statement we have said is like the finance access issues of the so-called next billion or India middle class. We are targeting like around 20,000 rupees to 1 lakh maximum of monthly income users. They are like more than billion in India. So for them, they don't have any issues to have a daily life. But when it comes to financial service, actually they are not having enough access to financial services, especially credit service. But thanks for the smartphone, based on the technology of a smartphone, 24/7 internet connection and then data, we finally have the capability to solve these financial access issues. So when I founded this company, I see this market is really not just a business growth point of view, but also the value creation point of view. Once we solve this problem, financial access issues of this next billion, we strongly believe that we can contribute this community and society. Also, of course, at the same time, we can grow a lot because this sector, small ticket size and then this 1 billion target credit service is fastest growing segment in the world, I believe. So that's how actually we made this company, and then we set our mission as Finance for All.
What were the key factors for the company that got the True Balance, the funding from these prominent investors?
When it comes to this fintech and finance, I strongly believe also our investors, because they're from Korea, Japan, and those areas, and then they have been through, and then they understand this one as well. When it comes to finance and fintech, the biggest actually the countries and the area where we can contribute is actually developing countries. I call it 0 to 1 service. Because previously it was not possible, but thanks for the smartphone and fintech, now it's possible. You can finally access to the credit and various financial services based on the QR code payment and others. So that actually the fintech and finance services for developing countries, especially India, one of the biggest actually countries from the population and then from the business potential point of view, I think it's the best place to do the business. So that's actually the reason how actually they approach and understand this market. And the third one is definitely the area we are focused on. 20,000 rupees to maximum 1 lakh of monthly income users. That's also how they actually understand our business and then the market.
How does Balance Hero India ensure that there is compliance with the regulations in the financial services in this particular country?
This market is growing like CAGR, the yearly growth is like 50% every year for last almost 1 decade. So this market is growing so fast. So ironically, like the RBI's regulation and attention is the kind of a proof that how this market is growing so fast and hot. So I think it's very right and then proper from regulators' point of view. They have very taken right steps to comply, ask the companies to comply. So we are also with the same page. This is a regulated business. We are handling the people's money. So it's very natural and then required to comply. And then RBI is taking right direction, and then we cannot but comply. But also we are trying to still meet our customers' needs. A lot of our users want the small ticket size short-term tenure loans, which is kind of a new domain for the regulators as well. So one side actually we are trying to solve them. Another side actually we are definitely complying RBI regulation.
Mr. Lee, you spoke about the market and the times that we are in at the moment. It's a very volatile space. How do you address the concerns of your company as well as your customers?
We call ourselves as a problem solver. Product and then the users we are taking care is really like a new segment and area. This market is a very important market. RBI is also sharing quarterly report how these fintech guys are actually contributing to the problem solving of these finance access issues, which is happening from companies like us.
Yeah.
So I believe market is a little bit volatile for now, but I believe this is gonna settle down, and then companies like us, we need to keep focused on those users,
Consistency.
problem statement solving.
Yeah. Mr. Lee, how does True Balance address the needs of the unbanked and the underbanked population?
Our ACS is based on smartphone data. We are actually utilizing almost 12,000 data set. Majorly, let me put a few examples. Majorly like in application data, what kind of application they are using. Also location information, where they live. And then some kind of social behavior data, how many people they have a regular contact, like make a call or something. That's also very good data because, interestingly, if they have a regular contact, his credit is actually supposed to be high. So all those kind of data, also like in financial related SMS, those are also one of the very important data. Also handset models, all those data together. Actually, even before they submit any kind of official financial data, we actually are capable of underwriting our users. We call it pre-approval process and stage. That's how actually we underwrite them.
What strategies and particular technologies does Balance Hero India employ here in order to provide a seamless user experience?
Our service is 100% digital, like D2C service.
Yeah.
We are not even single one process, and then the funnel is dependent on offline process, 100% digital service. And then thanks for that, actually we can analyze our users' behavior, especially the flow-wise and funnel-wise. So every time we make a decision, we are heavily dependent on the funnel analysis, data analysis. So that's the one. And the second one is like, as I told you, we are heavily dependent on our own proprietary alternative credit scoring system. So this is kind of the key things for our service.
How does Balance Hero India then ensure that its services reach the remotest part of the country?
Anyone who has a smartphone, they don't have to have a bank statement. They don't have to have a CIBIL even score.
Yeah.
We just, as far as they have a smartphone, they actually can apply and then use our service. I think that's one of the most important.
But how do you see Balance Hero's role in contributing to that initiative, in contributing to the Government of India's Digital India initiative, and what specific initiatives has the company undertaken in this particular regard?
As I told you, like, we are very proud that we are one of the first companies who are utilizing Indian government Digital India initiative. You know, we are basically widely using AA. Also OCAN, also we are trying to adopt one of the first company. So, and then the UPI, of course, is there. All the digital infrastructure, and then the eKYC, CKYC, all those things. So, I think, you know, without those digital infra, I don't think, you know, companies like us, not just us, but also all fintech companies, they cannot exist. So I'm actually very proud, and then I really appreciate government's actually effort. And then we will keep that initiative to fully utilize the government, you know, efforts to digitalize India, because that's also beneficial for us.
And do you feel that it's a safe space at this moment?
Definitely, because even compared to others, even compared to Korea and the other countries, I think India's regulation and then India's digital infrastructure is, I think, you know, very, very, very advanced.
So before I ask you this last question, let's also listen into some of the reactions of the people who have been working in this company. Take a look.
So for me, it's just not work, it's a vibe, and it's really exciting to not just growing stronger, but growing together.
I'm very proud to be part of a team which puts customer first every single day.
What draws me to work every day is the culture of a growth mindset.
What are the key strategic goals for Balance Hero India, and are there any sort of new products or services that are in offer at the moment?
Our goal is to provide finance service for especially those users who don't have full access to finance service. So definitely, when it comes to finance, credit is the core, right? Credit is one of the most important financial services. So we are now very focused on the credit together with payment. But later on, definitely we are planning to expand to other financial services like insurance and small investment. But one thing for sure is, like, you know, we are not gonna change our target users. So I believe, like, you know, we can solve those other countries' issues as well.
Mr. Lee, thank you very much for speaking with NDTV. All the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.